Hello, and welcome to the Gold, Goats, and Guns podcast for July 25th, 2024. My name is Tom Luongo, and we have a lot to talk about. It's episode 185, and I got a couple of things on my plate before we get to our guest. The first is to let you all know that I will be speaking at the Mises Institute at their annual donors conference in October, from October 10th to the 12th in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So if you're interested in that, you can go sign up there. I'll have the promo code in the show notes as well. I will also be speaking at Mikkel Thorup's Expat Money Summit 2024. I did this one last year. A bevy of really interesting speakers are going to be there this year, including Tom Woods, Ron Paul, and others, and myself. I'll be doing both a 25-minute talk with Mikkel directly, and I think I'm in a de-dollarization roundtable with my good friend Alex Craner, who's also a frequent guest on the podcast. But for today, since this is now the, I think, second podcast I've recorded since Trump was nearly shot, and we now know who his vice presidential candidate is going to be, I wanted to have on, and there's been a lot of talk about that, both good and bad, and all over the place, and all conspiratorial, and it's infected the entire world. And considering the fact that I've never seen the information space as polluted as it is right now, since 5 minutes after Trump grabbed his ear and then hit the deck, there was nobody else I wanted to talk to about what I've heard called the PayPal mafia once or twice, and I wanted to get and JD Vance's ties to that. And so I could think of no other person than the person who introduced me to that term. Pete Quinones is with me today, and Pete and I are going to chat about all things as to what he thinks is going on behind the scenes within the Trump administration, or the incoming Trump administration, and all that. Pete, how are you, man? How you been?
Doing well, man. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
As always, it is my privilege and pleasure. And you and I haven't spoken since you rolled through my area, my neck of the woods, a couple months ago, and it was an interesting talk and a great evening. It was fun. So talk to me, man. What's going on? I know that there's a lot of people out there. I have members of my community now calling JD Vance. What was he? They're calling him. They were calling him Hillbilly Obama, as opposed to, like, I was calling Vivek Ramaswamy earlier in the year H-1B Obama, because I didn't know anything about him. And I find that way overstated. Me personally, it's rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm like, nah, I got to have Pete on the show. So, man, I'm going to let you just run for a bit and tell me what you think is actually going on here, and trace some of the connections.
Sure. When I stopped down by your way, it was in February. And it was right at the beginning of February that my friend Matt Erickson was doing episodes about Elon Musk. And he started using the term PayPal Mafia. And I reached out to him and I'm like, let's talk about this. And it turns out, this term has been around for a long time. There's actually a Wikipedia page about the PayPal Mafia. And what he started to see, and what he explained to me, and then I started to see almost immediately, I bought in immediately, was that it looked like there was a move by certain people in Silicon Valley to try to take over Trump's campaign for 2024, insinuate themselves in there. Now, at the time, it was mostly Vivek showing up at events with him, saying things that people in the Silicon Valley world would say, and then Trump, like 2 hours later, would say it, repeat it, or a couple of days later. It was obvious that Vivek had his ear and was feeding him things like, "There's not going to be any central bank digital currency. We're not going to regulate cryptocurrency or blockchain." And it's like, these aren't things Trump knows about. So, knowing Vivek's ties to JD Vance and JD Vance's ties to Peter Thiel, we started looking into, okay, so what's happening? And we started talking about the fact that all of these lawsuits were coming out against Trump, and that it looked like they were trying to not only put him in jail or prevent him from running again, but it looked like they were going to try to bankrupt him, which I think he took a big hit in his net worth, is what my opinion is. And with the way we looked at it was, we thought, well, maybe, just maybe, these billionaires and insanely high up there millionaires, VC people, that they had promised Trump that we will take care of you. This and we're just conspiring at this point, that we'll take care of you. We'll make sure you don't go to jail. We'll make sure that your net worth goes back up, and we'll make sure you get elected. We just want to run the show in 2024. We want to run the show in 2025 when you get elected. We want to have a lot of say. Well, I'm sure you're familiar with DJT, and that as soon as it was made public, it skyrocketed. Yep. I don't think that's an accident. I think that was coordinated so that Trump could be wealthy again. I mean, have an amount of wealth that he could do what he needed to do. And then I don't know that the Silicon Valley guys had anything to do with having these lawsuits. He gets convicted. Well, no one's talking about the convictions anymore. The lawsuits, no one's talking about the lawsuits anymore. Right. All this stuff just basically seems to go away. And then we're like, okay, so we're hanging everything on who does he pick? Does the person he picks as a VP, is that going to point to the PayPal mafia? And we immediately said, I mean, we said this in February, if he picks JD Vance, if he picks JD Vance or like a Vivek, someone like that, that's point. He's got to pick someone in the tech sector, or connected to the tech sector. And Vance is, Vance, it was one of the chief investors in Vivek's company. And we know that Vance's company, I think it was called Naraya, I think it is, that was Teal invested in that. Right. So we're like, okay, so what's happening? When does he pick the VP? Well, we're 2 days away from the convention, and someone takes a shot at it. Someone takes a shot at Trump. I don't get into the conspiracy theory of this because I think it's too big a moment, too big a narrative can be written around it that the conspiracy just takes away from the narrative. I believe it's something that our guys can use. And 2 days later, I don't know that Trump had planned to pick Vance. From everything, it looked like he was going to pick Marco Rubio. And he picks Vance. And immediately people said, well, that's his insurance policy. If somebody takes a shot at him again, it's Vance, and they're more scared of Vance. They should be more scared of Vance than Trump. Okay. All I know is that Vance is in there. He has connections to Silicon Valley that go back a decade. Right. That he follows guys on Twitter that are on the quote unquote dissident right. These are far right-wing thinkers. That Vance he became a Catholic in 2019, seems to change a lot of his thinking. And it seems like he is, if you listen to his speech, he's talking about the thing that people on the left are scared of. And even I heard Ben Shapiro counter-signaling this, as he said, the United States is a nation, and a nation is its people. It's not an economic zone. It's not an open-air strip mall. Right. And that scares the crap out of a lot of people, especially the left, who have basically said it is. A lot of people on the right have, want the business to go on as usual. And it looks like, from everything that we can tell, and also from some podcasts that I can bring up from some big tech names that people either you don't know or you should know, or you probably know. It looks like that this has been in the plans for a while, and it looks like basically up until a certain point, the Democrats were perfectly fine with tech doing as they wished, and then they decided that they were going to clamp down on tech, and the tech guys went, no, A lot of the tech guys went, no, we can't have this. We can't have this. We have to go with the people who are pro tech. Now, someone like Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz, the
Right.
biggest VC fund in the world, biggest funder of tech in the world, will tell you he supported Hillary Clinton in 2016, Barack
Mm-hmm.
Obama in 2012. Why did he do that? Because they were pro tech. They
Right.
were perfectly fine with tech going on. And he is openly saying on his most recent podcast, it's called Little Tech, Little Tech Debate or something like that, Biden or Trump, where he sits down with his fellow billionaire Ben Horowitz, and they lay out why they are supporting Trump. And from everything I've heard from people that I know who are in the background, the way Thiel used to deal out money when he was more politically active, because I think Thiel's in the background now. I don't think no one's telling me that he's throwing money around. It looks like Andreessen has actually stepped up, and he's the one who's basically, if he's not funding it, he's directing where the money goes. I mean, Elon's saying 45, I'm going to give 45 million a month to Trump.
Right.
He may have done that on his own. I think it was probably more of him, him on one of his private signal calls or WhatsApp calls and them making that decision, more than one person. I don't think Musk just made that decision on his own. So there's a lot of intrigue there. Like I said, there's tons more I can talk about because
Sure.
they're openly stating what their grievances are now. And it's an exciting time because I don't know that anybody who, I'm a proponent of elite theory. I think elites are always in charge, but that elites circulate in and out. I think
Mm-hmm.
you are watching right now an elite, a hostile takeover by
Yep.
a certain group of elites
Yep.
who are looking to push out the woke, the anti-business, these people who just have, even if they don't know it, they've adopted more kind of Marxist kind of ideas about billionaires being bad, billionaires bad, that kind of
Right.
thing.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting, Pete. You say that, and I've been, it's funny when I started first heard about these things and these connections between Vance and everything else. It started like filtering in through my community, and when they started talking about it, and they started arguing about it back and forth, and blah 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 blah. And someone asked me, well, directly, well, what do you think about this? And I said, well, I would be lying if I didn't say that I have to at least understand that, you know, I've been making this argument about the Federal Reserve for 3 years now, saying, look, that's what when I was on Tom Wood's show, when I was trying to explain it to him a couple of years ago. First, try to really interject these ideas into the libertarian, decentralized commentary space to say, look, the Federal Reserve is an organization that wants to survive like anything else. They Their incentives and our incentives can overlap for a time. And if it's going to be a war between banks for the future, well, then if they have the Fed, if we have American banks on our side that still want nominal private formation of capital, and you've got Davos and the WEF and all these other people over in Europe wanting to collapse the world and make it safe for communism and the public formation of capital, well, then I'm willing to make a deal with. I'm going to be on the side of that giant while these two giants fight, and I'm trying to stay out of the way and try not to get stepped on. And I'm going to cheer my giant on until he beats the other giant, and then I'm going to turn on that giant and try and figure out how to take him down later. But in the order of operations, so if I believe that about the Federal Reserve, and I've made that argument pretty strenuously and pretty convincingly in my after all this time, then how can I not view little tech versus big tech in the same manner? If we're going to go into an information war, or if we're in an information war, then I want a dragon on my side. I want a giant on my side. And, that's the way it is. And it doesn't mean that anybody has to be a white hat or a black hat. There are no heroes. There are no villains. They're just different grades of villains. And, that's the way things are. And so that was my initial, like, kind of, hot take on the subject. And then I said, well, then we'll see how it plays out. And it sounds like that's what you're arguing, or at least that's what you've uncovered and you think about what's going on with these people. Am I correct about that?
It definitely. And, I'm sure you saw about a week ago that the rumor being floated that Trump was thinking of, if Trump got elected, Jamie Dimon would be head of the Treasury.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Did I not do a victory dance around my house? Yeah. Like I have a very funny story to tell that I told another point. I'm not going to tell it here because actually, this is probably the appropriate venue for it. I was on the toilet when I found out about it. And I'm like, screamed to my wife, and I'm like, come here. And she's like, no, you're on the toilet. I'm like, Jamie Dimon is being considered for Trump's Treasury Secretary. She just said, how in the hell did you sit down on that toilet with balls that big? And I went, one at a time, baby. One at a time. I had to slip him in through the. And this is what passes for high for a high level conversation in my house anymore.
Yeah, real high culture.
Yeah, we're real high culture up here in hillbilly country.
Well, did you notice the reaction to that? The reaction to that was just maybe a day or two later, there was a counter signal saying, no, he's thinking of Larry Fink.
Oh yeah, no, that was the New York Post saying that was thrown out. Absolutely. And everybody ran that by me. And I went, oh, please, that's the Post throwing chum out there. I almost wanted to post my Mad Max meme. That's bait, that is.
Well,
that's all that is.
Also, why would Larry Fink take a step down? He's the most powerful. He's one of the most powerful men in the world right now.
Well, I'll say is this about Larry Fink. I've been saying for a long time, I'm like, if I had my choice between Dimon or Fink, I'll tell you, if I'm betting money on who's going to win a war between Dimon and Fink, I'm betting on Dimon, because Dimon has the Fed and Fink has been begging the Fed to lower rates. Like, as far as I'm concerned, and I've made this argument in the past, that BlackRock is this big, huge thing, and it's not that big a book of business. At the end of the day, it's not that all that much, shareholder value. It's a lot of money of ours that they control and vote our proxy. But at the end of the day, they can take Larry Fink out in an hour if they really want to. So Fink was riding high when his backers in Davos and Obama and all the rest of them were riding high. They're not riding high anymore. They're on the defensive. And now Fink is, he's hedge fund manager he's fund manager without a home, looking for somebody to give him an umbrella. And that's what I see. And I've been seeing this from Fink for over 2 years now. So while he is powerful, power is like, it's all about the weather vane. It's all about the political weather vane. And the political and the winds on Washington are changing. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken a shot at Trump.
The problem is that they've become so anti-business that it's going to start affecting technology. And this is exactly what Andreessen and Horowitz said on their latest episode. What some of the things that they're worried about that they touched was AI. Everyone sees AI as the future. People can be scared of AI. I use AI all the time, mostly for people send me PDFs and stuff like that, and I'm like, I have no time to read this. I plug it into AI app as they summarize this for me, and I get 5 block quotes or something like that. They see it as the future, and they go before Congress, and what these people have told them is, we're going, they're like, Congress is talking about, well, we want to regulate it. And they're like, well, you can't regulate it at the tech level. That you'd just be regulating math. And they're like, oh, no, we can do that. That's what we did when nuclear came along. Well, we can definitely. They're like, no, you should if you're going to regulate it, do it at the application level. They're like, no. So they're like, we need somebody in there. We need somebody in there. This is the future. We need somebody in there doing that. Another thing is, unrealized capital gains.
Yes.
There's a plan for next for a Biden second term, which would be, I guess, a Harris first term, or I don't even know what that would be, for to pass unrealized capital gains.
Oh, I know.
They'll put VCs will be out of business in 4 years. I mean, VCs will be out of business.
America will be out of business in 4 years. These people want to destroy the country. Period.
But they know this. They see this. I mean, they also, you'll hear, look at Elon Musk the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk talking about the trans agenda and saying they killed my son.
Mm-hmm.
He said they killed my son. These are people who are bipartisans, whoever, they're about tech. Okay. This is what's most important to them. They're technocrats. All right. Let's not be afraid. I mean, you can be afraid of that term, but let's be realistic about that term. They're technocrats. They care about technology. They want technology to progress. And what they're seeing is that the regime, and I'm not, they're looking at the regime as the New Deal regime. And Mark Andreessen the other day, somebody had tweeted out, and it was somebody wasn't a very big follower account. Mark Andreessen follows a lot of people. Said, I think what you're seeing now is you're seeing an elite takeover by Silicon Valley interests. And Mark Andreessen retweeted that with a bullseye. And then he retweeted his bullseye with the cover of James Burnham's The Managerial Revolution and the Machiavellians. They're not going to war with this regime and what it's done in the last 10 years. They're going to war with what this regime has done in the last 100 years. What it's become. And I think they seek to dismantle it. Now, whether people want to bring up Project 2025, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know that everything in there would get passed, and I think that there's other things people would want to apply it to. But what people seem to be missing here is there's a big picture that most people just completely miss. So 75 years ago, Elon Musk might own his own company, but he would be working for the government.
Right.
He would because they pull the brightest minds in there. So Elon Musk would be working, Peter Thiel would be working for the government, Mark Andreessen, all of these people would be working for the government. But the managerial revolution, managerialism has precluded that because everything is about management now. In 1991, the internet went online. Okay. There were a bunch of these guys who could make a choice. Are we going to go in the direction of the future, which we think is the open internet? Or are we going to get jobs and get regular jobs or get government jobs? And a bunch of them, a lot of them, chose the open internet. And what happened in the meantime? What would have happened if those people would have went into government? You may have seen, and think about what's happening in 1991. Not only is the internet coming online, the Soviet Union is falling apart. Okay. The United States is top dog in the world. I mean, the most powerful nation of all time. These guys could go into the government and they could make this the greatest, I mean, the strongest country, the most advanced country. I mean, we could have flying cars, we get all that stuff that's a meme at this point.
Right.
But they didn't. And what did they do? They went and they built a parallel society. They built a parallel economy. They basically built the parallel institutions that libertarians and agorists and everybody were talking about. But they had to do it. They couldn't do it completely outside of the system, so they had to work with the system. Many of them took advantage of the system. Many of them raped the system in order to do it. Okay? And now they're getting to the point where they've built out they see themselves on the precipice of this incredible technological breakthroughs. I mean, Andreessen and Horowitz talk about curing cancer. They talk about, they say AI is the key to curing cancer. We have to be able to have all these, feed all this information in there and let it work itself out. They say, tech, what they're seeing is they're seeing a regime. They're coming up against a regime that hates them because they have money, hates them because they're not, they are tech people. They aren't bowing the knee to the woke. Some of them are, Reid Hoffman, people like that. Sure, they're leftists in Silicon Valley, but there's this group, people like Bill Ackman, people like David Sachs, Peter Thiel, JD Vance, Elon Musk, a bunch of these guys. And go check out. This is probably one of the most fascinating interviews I've seen in a while. The Moment of Zen podcast had Balaji on. I can't remember pronounce his last name. CTO of Coinbase, used to work for Andreessen Horowitz. It's an hour and 45 minutes, and he's laying out basically what he hears in San Francisco, what he hears from people, how they see that the regime doesn't want law and order. They want the streets to be chaos. They want the streets to be in shambles. And then he lays out, the interviewer, I can never remember the Moment of Zen, the host name, but he asks him, he's like, well, what about Jan 6? And he's like, well, what about the attack on the White House when Trump was there, where they had to take, where they're throwing Molotov cocktails and Trump has to be taken down into the bunker? Why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about, why don't we talk about the banging on the Supreme Court doors? Why don't we talk about the burning down of cities in 2020? Mm-hmm. And he's explaining all this, and he's like, when I talk to people in San Francisco now, sure, you're going to have your ideologues who are so far left that they can't hear, but there are more and more people waking up to the fact that this woke mind virus has to go. Somebody has to fight it. And that's what I honestly believe, that as much as someone like Mark Andreessen or Ben Horowitz or David Sachs or Bill Ackman or Elon Musk, this wouldn't even be on their radar, because their minds are somewhere else. They see all of this as impeding the future that they want. And then, we can get into whether that's a future we want or, how we feel about that future.
Well, that's it. It's interesting you brought all that stuff up, because I think it's so. This is where I have to ask the basic question, right? As you were speaking, I was thinking, oh Christ, now what was I thinking? That they made that. This is the thing I heard you say, is that yes, they are trying to build that parallel society, and then the question, of course, is, are they going to be those people that we fear? And then the knee-jerk reaction from so many people who distrust all forms of power, they don't have any way of filtering that information and putting it into context. They just see oligarch bad, or billionaire bad, and then they're gonna just meet the new boss same as the old boss. And while I don't discount that analysis completely, I have to again ask the question, well, what would you prefer right now? How are you going to beat these people? What are you going to do? You're just going to sit here and because there comes a point where there's only so much. There's only so much.
You have to choose a side.
Yeah, there's only so much complaining you can do. Right. There's only so much complaining you can do about this. But there was something else you brought up earlier, and I sadly I didn't. I should have written it down. But it was clear that we can have, are these guys, are they bad? Are they good? Does it matter? They're the guy with the gun. To quote Bruce Campbell, like, good, bad, I'm the guy with the gun. Now, which gun do you want to be behind? Because at the end of the day, that's the question. And it's not the world we want. We all want the guns to go away. at least not be pointed at us anymore. But that's not the world you have. And your option here is if they don't do this, then you're going to be stuck under the exact same type of, or a worse kind of technocratic thing. You can see what they want in the European Union. The European Union is a perfect example of the world that we don't want. Total surveillance, total programmable money, and all the rest of that stuff. Like, I remember when I did the debate with Matt Ehret and me on one side, and Ian Davis and Riley Wagman on the other, hosted by Off Guardian, and everybody was getting tripped up over the concept of the fourth industrial revolution. And it was Matt Ehret, actually. I give Matt a lot of credit for this, who started parsing out. He's like, look, to Putin, for example, that term doesn't mean the same thing that it means to Klaus Schwab or to Yuval Harari or Bill Gates, and now you can even extend that to Elon Musk and or Peter Thiel. Just because these terms are synonymous just because it's the same term doesn't mean it means the same thing to different people. And I think it's very important that we parse through those different layer of nuance, because, like, for example, the Russians are going to go to a digital ruble. That doesn't mean that it's going to be a programmable digital ruble like Ursula von der Leyen and Christine Lagarde are talking about. That's the one we're all worried about, where we're not allowed to order pizza and there's going to be a social credit score and there's all the rest of it. There may be, I don't know. I don't get that sense from Putin, right? I don't know that I get that from Elon Musk, but it makes perfect sense to me then why Elon Musk would have bought Twitter when he did. It also would make
that is the one thing. The first thing I thought when my friend Matt Erickson, who put all this together, really, he started it. When he told me this, when he started explaining to me, it was like, that's why they bought Twitter, because they need to control the narrative. They need to they need to be able to stomp out the regime narrative and put their own in there. I mean, can you imagine? Okay, do you think in 2020, in July of 2020, if someone would have taken a shot at Trump, do you think we would have seen all those videos of it on Twitter?
No.
It would have been completely suppressed. It would have been like Hunter Biden's laptop, completely suppressed. And they even tried to do it now. They tried to do it this year. What does CNN run with? Oh, Trump falls.
Right. After loud noises.
Yeah, Trump falls after a loud noise, trying to be like he got scared and he dove to the ground. No matter what you think happened that time. I mean, I'm really sick of the conspiracy theories around it, mostly because when I think about 9/11 or the JFK assassination or all these things, we still don't know what happened. Sure. We probably never will. So it's like all you're doing is speculating and you're trying to prove how smart you are. And there's a better, I said when the Trump thing, when they took a shot at him, I said the better narrative is that they drummed this up. They made him out to be Hitler. They made him out to be a fascist, to the point that somebody took a shot at him. They missed, and they killed one of our guys. They killed a hardworking middle-class guy who was a fireman. They killed one of us, and they don't care. They're not mourning him. They don't care about us. And, so maybe the old meme, remember that meme of Trump saying, they're attacking, they want
the target is us, the target is you, but I'm in the way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's like, use that meme, use the narrative. If Twitter is allowing now people on the more right to spin narratives, use the narrative.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I mostly agree with you. I'm not, don't take this as disagreement. I think it's important that, yes, you're exactly right. It's even one step further than that. It's very clear that they've just created an orgy of incompetence here in order to try and obfuscate the fact that they did take a shot at him and that Crooks is a patsy and blah blah blah. That's what I believe, and I'm not going to be dissuaded off of that. But but you are also right that it doesn't really matter, because what they immediately then tried to do was what they do right after that. Then they disappeared Joe Biden a couple of days later after the convention to suck all the air out of the room and then substitute in Kamala Harris. Like, because they understand they need to control the narrative. And it goes back to what I said about Elon Musk taking over Twitter. You remember in the week before he takes over Twitter, he was threatening to sue over the valuation in order to drag everything about Twitter out into the open and to prove to everybody that it was basically a loss leader that wasn't worth $44 billion. And then the midterm elections happen. And then he walks in on Friday afternoon and buys Twitter with the kitchen sink. FYI, at the same time, the Fed begins executing various crypto projects that were clearly, obviously, money laundering operations. I'm going to tell you something that I want to, but what I'm trying to do here is, because I can do this because I'm allowed and I can make inferences, which is that you can tie both of our narratives together. Everything I've been saying about the banking class and everything you're saying about little tech, they all center around the same Venn diagram. Get rid of these fucking people. Because the people who are running this country, the managerial class, which is, by the way, and that's what I wanted to talk about. We're going to go circle back to that now, which is this whole Project 2025 is now a boogeyman. It was created by Soros and David Brock, Media Matters, and everything else because they understood exactly what was going to happen. They were planning on shooting Trump, killing him, and then saying, look, and they prepped the narrative for 3 weeks saying, this Project 2025 thing is the end of America. It's the end of democracy. It's the end of the administrative state. It's a very simple project. If you have not watched it, I got forwarded a podcast or a speech presentation from a year ago by a couple of guys who worked in the Trump administration and were explaining to, I think they called themselves the Manhattan Project, weirdly enough, talking to a bunch of high net worth guys, explaining the origin. They were at the beginnings of Project 2025. So this is a year ago. And they were explaining all of their staffing wins and how they used the regulations while they were running when they finally got control of the staffing. And that's how they got some wins. And they're like, oh, this is how we dismantle the administrative state. This is how we fire all these people. This is how we get all this stuff done. And they detailed like chapter and verse. Oh, we got this one done, and then we got this one done, and they're like, the guy was literally like, and we kept expecting like a couple of 25-year-olds. They're like, we fully expected like the military to show up at our door, right, and go, okay, you guys can't do this anymore because if you don't stop, we're going to shoot you. And it never happened because so what everybody doesn't really understand is that none of us really understand is that the president doesn't have any real power. Mm-hmm. Okay. And in their words, executive orders are requests by the president to instruct it to the cabinet secretary to do X, Y, and Z. And if the cabinet secretary doesn't want to do, and the bureaucracy doesn't want to do what the president asked for, they don't do it. And there's almost nothing we can do about it. The president can actually do about it, short of firing them. But if the president doesn't have really the ability to, there are rules and regulations for getting all that stuff done. This is what Project 2025 is all about, is cutting through that and saying, look, we can replace all of these people. And that's why they're so scared of it. And by the way, there's also another group that's also trying to vie for who's going to staff the Trump administration. There's Heritage and there's Project 2025, and then there's also AFPI. And there's those two groups are vying for, it doesn't matter. We have two groups trying to staff a second Trump term. And honestly, Pete, that's why I don't believe Trump is ever going to take office. But it's still indicative of the fight between like oligarchs, as you were saying earlier. It's beautifully put earlier that we're seeing elites fight amongst themselves and a titanic struggle for who's going to control the future. And I'm going to stand here and I'm going to watch it happen because I can't really stop it. But well, that's I'm the also point, not right? going to I'm also not going to knee jerk react and say that they're all bad because that's not fair.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is people who are ideological, who have a strict ideology, libertarians, even people even further right, you come to learn this once you start really listening to people, is they say, okay, well, which one do you think would be better for you? Well, neither. Okay, well, if you want that option, go raise up your own elites. Okay, because that's the only way this is going to work. Okay, so where we're at is you have a bunch of, I always bring up libertarians because I used to be one. I don't call myself a libertarian anymore. I just don't. I'm way too into realpolitik, and I don't. I'm like, I just want. Here's the way I look at it. Okay, the regime that's in there right now is completely against my values.
Right.
They don't like the fact that I go to church. They don't like the fact that I go to confession. They don't like the fact that I'm married and that I'm straight. And they they don't like the fact that I don't like them. They don't like that I talk about the evil things that they do.
Right.
Okay. Even if I didn't talk about the evil things that I do, if I was the person who was shot at that Trump rally, they wouldn't mourn me. They
Nope.
would privately celebrate it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I examine these tech people, like people are like, well, Elon Musk just wants to put a chip in your head. And I'm like, there are going to be people lining up to have chips put in their head. He's
Yes.
not going to worry about me in Alabama.
Right.
He's not sending people for me in Alabama. Well, they're going to want to set up a surveillance state. I'm like, they're going to be busy purging whole whole departments if they
Yes.
get their way.
Yep.
They have to dismantle the state. Okay. By dismantling the state, they're actually making the state smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people realize that the plan, if you get rid of this managerial regime and managerialism goes away and you have basically a real executive
Mm-hmm.
and you have real lawmakers and you
Yep.
have a real judiciary, you've just reduced the state. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what Elon Musk, that's what like Vivek Ramaswamy has been running around for 12 months
Right.
saying one person should be in charge. One person should be over this. And then, I mean, if you're an ideologue, you're like, oh no, that means that he's just going to be king and he's nobody cares about you jerking off in your basement. You'll get to keep doing it. Okay. Nobody cares about that. I mean, these people are pro crypto, pro
Yeah.
blockchain. I
Right.
mean, when you listen to like Andreessen and Horowitz, that episode I was talking about, they were talking about how when you look at social media, the reason social media can be so easily controlled and so easily, people are so easily silenced is because it's centralized.
Right.
One person's in charge. And if that person isn't friendly to you, well, they're going to shut you up. He goes, but if this was on the blockchain and there was 10,000, nodes who had to all agree in order to change something, in order to do something, well, now you have a decentralized system.
Yep.
This is the things these guys are talking about. These are the
And
future these guys want. They're telling you They're telling you, get on board with this. If sounds good to you, then you'll still have people out there. Well, no, the state will still exist. And as long as the state exists, we're all slaves and taxes is just a gun to your head. And okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, technically, sure. What's your plan to take the state down and replace it with something? I mean, it's amazing to me the amount of people who are like, well, I just can't wait until the state just collapses. Well, do you think people are going to adopt your anarcho-capitalism if the state collapses? They're going to be looking for the strongest man to protect them from roving
exactly.
hordes.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, what are
You're
you
going to wind up with a
doing?
war. They're going to wind up with those very warlords that they are complaining about now, and it's like, look, like, you know, that's the
Well, can I
problem.
say
The
something?
problem that
Can I say one
like
thing?
it's the real. No, the fundamental problem is that it's like, look, it's a process. Liberty is not a thing. It's not a state function. We don't just go. It's not a diode. It's either it's on or off. It's a process by which we go from where we are to where we want to go, and that process is going to be lumpy, and it's not going to be. It's not going to be tomorrow, and it's not going to be if you just take you just like, dude. Are they better for you or are they worse? No, they're the same.
Yep.
No, they're not. I'm sorry, they're not. And sitting here tracing connections and then nudge, nudge, wink, wink, going, see, they're all the same. That's not analysis and that's not journalism. It's not either. It's none of those things. And it's pathetic, if you want my honest opinion. I have if you assemble data and do nothing with it, then you're just part of the problem. You're actually now carrying water for the very people you say you're fighting.
I will say this to like the libertarians and the ANCAPs out there. These guys started building the system that they wanted in 1991. They've been building it for over 30 years. They've made themselves wealthy enough that it looks like they can possibly get this done. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? This is all falling apart. I mean,
Yep.
we're not having a technical collapse, but we're having this is basically a collapse in governance. Okay.
Yes.
And there's this group who have been enriching themselves, building things to replace what's happening now for over 30 years. And now they see their chance and they're going for it. What the fuck have you built? Have you built have you been selling people on Ancapistan? I mean, have you been building that parallel society? No. You've been reading books like I used to do. You've been doing nothing. All you've been doing is arguing on the internet.
Yes. Yes.
You have this is what I've been saying about libertarians, okay? It's a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hobby to most of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's a hobby, it's an identity, it's a group chat. And maybe we should do this. Well, that's status. You're out of the group chat. So you just stay in your little bubble and you can't think outside of anything else. And something else that I wrote down here that I wanted to say was,
Sure.
This isn't, to me, what they used to say in the past was you vote for the lesser of two evils so you can kick the can down the road. I don't see this as kicking the can down the road. I see this as something new. I actually see this as the potential for these guys to tear down a couple walls.
Yep.
That we can actually walk over the rubble and we can move forward into, because we're not going back. Nick Land said the only way we're getting out of this is through. We got to go through it, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to something new. Sure, there's going to be echoes of the past, especially when it comes to morality, when it comes to culture. You don't want to hold on to your culture. A lot of people are going to want to. These guys don't want you to become. I don't. Well, I'm not going to speak for them. I don't see anything in these guys wanting you to become technocrats like them. I don't see anything in them wanting to. Wanting you to I know of a couple of guys in Silicon Valley who their whole goal is to live forever. They don't want to die, and they're doing everything they can to do that. They don't want you. They're not saying that you have to do that. They're not saying that you have to adopt that. They're trying to break down barriers that are keeping them from at least making this attempt.
Sure.
And I'll say this. I've already said this. The regime, this New Deal regime that we've had, I like to call it the Nuremberg regime, because after Nuremberg, anything right wing is basically criminal. If you have a right wing belief, you're criminal.
Okay.
These people hate me. The way I look at, when I listen to a Mark Andreessen or Ben Horowitz or an Elon Musk, even a Peter Thiel. I listen to a lot of Peter Thiel lectures, trying to figure out. I think they're just indifferent. I will take indifferent right now over hostile.
Absolutely.
I will take competency over incompetency. I mean, these people, one thing you have to realize about this, I started this reading thing recently, this year, where part of in between episodes, I'm reading whole books on my show. I've done this before, but I'm up to my 6th book. The first book I read was Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. Why did I do that? because I saw this coming, and I want people to understand what's coming. I wanted people to understand how these people think, and what they think. What they think. They cherish competency. They look at the government and they're like, how can this is going to fall apart? It's become so incompetent that they become hostile to people who are their should be their natural friends, like entrepreneurs,
Yes.
tech people who can solve the problems. No one is coming to Elon Musk, from the government and saying, we have this problem, solve it. No one's going to Mark Andreessen, we have this problem, solve it. No one's going to JD Vance. How would you solve this problem?
All right. So
yeah.
So what I'm going to say here, Pete, is the following. I'm just going to play devil's advocate because for the most part, I agree with you.
Sure.
But the common refrain that's out there is, well, they're just another tech billionaire, and they took money from this government program. For example, Peter Thiel and Palantir took money from the CIA in 2006, and Elon Musk took money from the government in multiple different venues and blah 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 blah. What do you say to that? I mean, that's the counter argument that's out there. That's the thing that, and I know a part of that. Again, I'm not saying I agree with that level of analysis. What I'm saying is, it has taken root in the zeitgeist because it's a reflection of people's worry about this all turning into, as I've like to put it many times, Minority Report, but with more Germans, right? This idea that they're going to just, it's just, well, I'm not going to have Klaus Schwab as my overlord. I'm going to have Peter Thiel as my overlord. And see, they took money from the CIA, and because the CIA is black box bad, therefore Peter Thiel black box bad. Like it's like and I'll be honest with you, it's an underpants gnome style argument. Steel underwear, ... evil. But I want you to fill in the ... if you can, and if you can't,
I don't think most people think that. I think it's.
I didn't say most. I didn't see most people. I said it's in the zeitgeist, especially in and around what would be the dissident right that is trying to figure out what's going on here. And they do have a voice, and they do have a certain amount of power, and we honestly need them to understand that it's what the situation is. So it's just
okay. Well, there's a couple of things there. Let me just make a note real quick.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So that, because I need to come back to this. The first time I heard about Palantir, the first time someone sent me an article explaining what Palantir was, I went right into Machiavelli mode, and I said, okay, how would Peter Thiel be able to use this against his enemies? And who are his enemies? Who would he see as his enemies? Because he has this technology. He's given it he sold it to the government, but he still has the technology. He could use it privately. So how could he use it against his enemies? And who are his enemies? I'm not his enemy. These people look at the regime in charge as their enemy. So my whole idea was Palantir is actually, when you consider the global war on terror, it was a great thing to sell the government if you wanted to become a billionaire. But it's also technology that you could hold back you could keep for yourself, that you'd be able to extract information about other people and people that you saw as your enemies. So am I Peter Thiel's enemy, or is the regime or people in the regime, people in the deep state, quote unquote, Peter Thiel's enemy? I have no problem. It's like I said before, these people went in 1991, they decided that they weren't going to join the government, that they were going to do their own thing. That they were going to go into business for themselves. One of the easiest way to get rich is to do business with the state.
Yep.
Okay. They've done this. Now they're looking and they're like, okay, our business with the state is done. This state, this regime, this system is done. It's where we could take advantage of it before. Now they're openly hostile to us. Why would Peter Thiel be? Why would I consider Peter Thiel to be my enemy? Here's something else I will say. It's when we met in February, I talked about how I thought it was crazy that all of a sudden Eric Prince was back on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
That he started his own podcast. He's doing podcasts. He just spoke last night at I Am 1776's event, I Am 1776 event in Nashville. Why is he back on the scene? And then you have to remember, if you know history, the people who basically overthrew regimes were part of the regime.
Right.
Caesar was part of the regime. Pinochet was in the military. Franco was in the military. You're not. Who are you going? What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for some? Do you think it's going to be some virgin coming out of a seminary somewhere with no? That's not the way these things work. Realpolitik works in a different way. Okay. Yep. The people who overthrow regimes may overthrow regimes for their own interest. But what I learned from libertarianism was that when people have self-interest and they're out there doing things, the way that they become successful is what they're doing for self-interest has to be some interest to you.
Yep.
So if they have self-interest in doing this, is it going to benefit me? Am I one of these people who is just hiding in my room thinking that everyone who has money and everyone who has power is out to get me, is out to put me in a cage, is out to get me to live in a smart city, is out to I'm sorry. I'm not I can't live thinking like that. When you live thinking like that, I said this on a stream the other day, and I said it off the top of my head, and people really grabbed onto it. Black pilling, that nothing good ever happens. It's just a recipe for it's a recipe for you're not going to do anything. It's a recipe for there's no self-improvement. It's a recipe for nothing ever gets better. Okay. Tell me nothing ever gets, look at El Salvador and tell me nothing ever gets better.
Right.
It just takes will.
Yes.
Okay? Chicago, the crime in those, Camden, New Jersey, South Central LA, they could be cleaned up in a weekend. If you paid someone like Eric Prince to go in there, he could clean that up. It could be in a weekend. It could easily, house to house, door to door.
Well, the thing is, I agree with you about blackpilling. I have spent months now, if not probably more than a year, railing about this idea. Like, we can't just be doom pointing it up all the time. And I'll be honest with you, to sell clicks. And that's what bothers me. Like, and it's always
that's Whitney Webb. I said I wasn't going to bring up Whitney Webb, but that's Whitney Webb. Right. Whitney Webb cannot be white pilled. She will lose her audience. Her audience is everyone's out to get me. Peter Thiel's a monster. Peter Thiel's a monster. Peter Thiel, the CIA. Peter Thiel. That's it. It's her whole thing. Jeffrey Epstein, all of her research that she stole from Ryan Dawson to write a book that everybody thinks is her own research. Yeah. All of the Jeffrey Epstein, all that research she stole from Ryan Dawson. Anyone who knows Ryan Dawson was writing articles about Jeffrey Epstein in 2006.
Right.
Okay. You can just look at everything she wrote in that book, and you can go back and you can look at every little documentary that Ryan Dawson. She lifted the whole thing. Okay. I don't like plagiarists. Just because she's a plagiarist doesn't mean that she's wrong about Peter Thiel. But she is not going to tell you that anyone in power is going to do anything that could possibly be in your best interest because it will cost her money. I've changed my mind. When I get new information, I change my mind.
Yep.
And it's caused me income over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had income drops and, I don't care. It's not like I want to be right about everything, but also I can understand that I think I'm right here, but somebody sends me new information and I go, guys, I was wrong. And
Yeah.
people are like, oh, well, you're just inconsistent. It's like, no,
No.
you're in a box. You're in a box. You're trapped. You're trapped in the system of, I know the only thing that I'm going to accept in the world is is my little ideology, my little box, and anything that exists outside of that box is either damaging to me or I can't accept it. And Whitney Webb is a perfect example of that. She does not. Who anyone who thinks Whitney Webb is this great hero, tell me who she would accept coming to power that she think would change things. No one. Well, the only way anything's going to get changed is by people in power.
Well,
so what does that tell you about her?
To be fair, it would be the argument. The counter argument would be, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, and skepticism is a fair place to operate from. But skepticism does not equate to a conclusion. You remain flexible and open to new information and to synthesize information and this is one of the things that I've been obsessed with recently is to say, look, again, like I said earlier, good, bad, I'm the guy with the gun. You're going to have good people do bad things. You're going to have bad people do good things. And if you want to live in a world where someone is all evil or all good, well, it's going to be a really, really small world because everybody has a shadow. Everybody's got skeletons in their closet. Everybody's made mistakes. And then you live in a world where there is no opportunity for someone to become a better person or to do the right thing at the right moment. We don't have, at the end of the day, Gollum is the one that slam dunks the One Ring into the cracks of doom, and Frodo failed, folks. This is the point. Fucking Tolkien made this point and took him 15 years to figure 10 or 12 years to figure out the ending to the Lord of the Rings because he couldn't come up with the right answer. This is very important. And we live in a time where people want simple answers. They want to know that guy's on my side because I don't have the time for complexity. I can't have nuance. I need to know that you're a good guy. I have people literally now screaming that I'm a Zionist shill, Pete, because I like to point out that the British are behind a lot of what we think those people are behind. It's not all the same.
I don't think
thing.
You're a Zionist shill. I just think you're wrong.
Well, that's fine. You're more than welcome to have that opinion, and I'm happy to have that argument with you. But I think it's a bit of both. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing. It's like, look, dude, at the end of the day, I'm not arguing saying that there's a zero component here. I'm not saying that. I would never say that any more than I would say that there's a 100% component, because I don't believe that evil, has a phenotype. Sorry, I just don't buy that. I never will. And this is the problem. It's like, I don't think good has a phenotype either. So, at the end of the day, we have to be willing to explore various aspects of all of these things. And it's going to be somewhere between good and evil, not beyond or otherwise, where you have to get beyond these concepts and understand that in times of stress, people make decisions based on their self-interest. That's what I learned from libertarianism. And
good.
And that's it.
Yeah. But I think the thing that people can't, someone like Whitney Webb, who is just completely black pilled all the time, and that's all she's doing is she's feeding, that everything everything that's evil can possibly happen. Everything that could possibly happen is going to be evil. There are no choices. But when you step back and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to provide some answers here. Okay, this is what I think you should do personally. This is what I think is happening in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the easiest thing you can do what we do, what you and I do, is to be completely black pilled and say
Mm-hmm.
nothing's ever going to get better,
Yep.
because you're not going out on a limb. Okay, as soon as you go out on a limb, you open
Mm-hmm.
yourself up to ridicule, and
Mm-hmm.
most people are cowards.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are cowards. So by me going out on a limb and saying, hey, look, I think this PayPal mafia takeover. Yes, I know that David Sachs and Bill Ackman are Jews. Wow, you're not teaching me anything, okay? But I don't think when I look at them, I immediately know that they're all against Ukraine war.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I think that Trump gets elected January 21st, even maybe even before that, all that's going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Supporting that is going to stop, and there'll be some kind of, and Trump gets in there, he'll bring Putin to the table, and he'll broker something and be called the Putin puppet and everything, yada yada. We know that'll happen. Um, but I look at this and I say, the regime in okay, given their worst, okay, like say everything about these Silicon Valley guys, all the scary shit that everybody's scared of, which is all hypothetical, mind you.
Right.
It's all people saying we think this is going to happen, or what we know, about the regime in charge.
Yep.
I mean, Biden, oh, we need to scale down the rhetoric a little bit. Weren't you the guy who gave a speech in Philadelphia in front of a red background with stormtroopers, talking about
Dude,
how a third of the country, Trump supporters, are like semi fascists?
Pete, the AI bot that they sent out last night didn't
I
tone the
was out.
rhetoric down. Okay, like it was
I was out, so I
yeah,
haven't
no,
heard it
I
yet. I
mean,
was out.
it was terrible. Like it was awful. And again, right. Look, the devil you're dealing with. It's okay to be skeptical of the devil over the horizon, but you might have to deal with the devil over the horizon. This does not make you a bad person and doesn't make you a bad libertarian.
Well, and the thing
Like, just
is
to
like,
speak the libertarians in the audience, so the 4 or 5 of you who are left. Seriously, it doesn't make you a bad libertarian to go, hey, remember, Rothbard voted for whoever was the lesser of two evils, because that's what you do.
he said, he had nice things to say about David Duke when he compared to who he was running against.
Sure.
I mean, that's going out on a limb, isn't it? But
I'll give you another one. Ron Paul, when he ran for president, did he talk about ending the Fed tomorrow?
no,
Did he? No, he didn't. He said, we can't get rid of it tomorrow. We can't get rid of the welfare state tomorrow. We can't get rid of Social Security. We made promises to these people and we keep our promises.
all of the yeah. All I can say is that we know what this regime is. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you're one of those people out there who's thinking, well, if this regime stays in, it'll just fall apart. Everything will fall apart. Okay, what comes after that? It's not
Yes.
going to be your pet ideology that will never exist, that James Burnham clearly stated in Suicide of the West. Ideologies exist in a box. As soon as they're created in a lab, as soon as they are introduced into the air, as soon as they are introduced into reality, they get holes shot in them.
Yep.
No one's ideology is going to exist. It's like Mike Tyson used to say, everyone has a plan, so they get punched in the mouth.
That's right.
And what I'm looking at here is, if this is the tech bros making their move,
Mm-hmm.
the technocrats, even call them the technocrats making
Sure.
their move. What I know of them, what I can, by listening to endless hours of podcasts, by reading the books they put out there, are they my guys? I I, I would prefer not. I would prefer that somebody else take over.
Sure.
Do I think that they can? Do I think that they can like improve conditions for like innovation, technology, um, fix the money?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they can, and I think they want to do it. Now, whether they can do it or not is another question.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that from everything I'm hearing, I mean, unless all of these podcasts I'm listening to, they're just sitting there reading scripts and they're just, it's like, and they, look at the way we're tricking Pete into thinking that, that we're doing this. Because, I mean, honestly, I'm probably probably 1 to 2% of the people who listen to those podcasts aren't tech bros.
Right.
These are tech podcasts. I listen to them because I want to hear what they're saying. I mean, unless they're trying to trick their people, their fans, and they're trying to trick Pete because Pete's listening in. I just don't get it. What I'm
Yeah.
hearing is we need competent governance, we need competent systems, and it's broken. This managerial regime, which just basically, we don't even need a president at this point. We don't have a president right now.
No, we
The,
don't.
the country's running. The country's running.
Yep.
It's running terribly. It's
Yes.
running horribly. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason it can run like that is because because it's a managerial regime. It's
Yes.
not who you get elected, it's who is already in place that is just keeping things going and keeping things, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a system that its only purpose is to perpetuate the system.
Yes.
That's it. And I think these people are looking to throw a monkey wrench into that. Now, do I, it comes back to the question I've already asked a couple of times. Do I think it'll be better than what we have now? From everything, from the research I'm doing, I think so. If I'm wrong, if they take over and things get even worse, I'll say I was wrong. I'll apologize. But I mean, that doesn't mean don't stop, buying land, investing in what you need to, um, you know,
Investing in
making it so that you're
yourself,
in, yeah,
making your community stronger, doing all the things that you
yeah.
should be doing anyway.
Oh yeah, you should still be looking at like local politics and cinching up your. I have a friend right now who is like drawing up checklists for local politics. Like, okay, how do we de-wokify? How do we make sure? How do we de-wokify our local area and make sure that none of this stuff comes in the future? And he's like has this checklist that he's going down and be like anyone who's in local politics and a council can hand these things out to you and you can have a checklist. You can have a goal. You can have a what does it look like now? What do you want it to look like? What could it possibly look like if it's infected by this regime virus? I mean, these are the kind of things that you should be doing
Mm-hmm.
anyway. I don't think these people are coming to save us. That's
No.
not what I've ever said. But they
Right.
can break down walls that we can walk over. They can leave us the hell alone. It's like I said, I know the regime in charge is hostile to me now. Everything that I'm hearing from these people, at best, they're going to be indifferent to
That's right.
the average person. But also, these people want to bring manufacturing home.
Yep.
These people see China. Here's the thing, and this is another thing that Andreessen says. It's the Bob and Mark show. And you can look for it on Twitter. It's called
I'm gonna find.
not on Twitter.
We're gonna find links for it. I'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah, on YouTube. It's called the latest episode was let me get it. It's called The Little Tech Agenda: Biden versus Trump, and it's A16Z. That's the name of their podcast and everything. They say, look, right now, the war, the race. You know how we had the arms race, the nuclear race? Who's going to get the bomb first?
Right.
Who is going to take the lead in AI?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want it to be China. And let
Right.
me tell you something. You don't want it to be China.
Right. Agreed.
You you can
Agreed
you
completely.
cannot want to go to war with China. You cannot want to, counter signal and say, oh, China's just. You do not want China to win the AI war.
No,
You do not
no,
want
no, no,
that.
no. You do
We
not.
have
I
to
agree.
win that. We have to win that. These
Mm,
people have to win that, because as bad as it could be here, those people over there, the leaders over there, you do not want to get their ideology there. You don't want them having peak AI technology, the kind of AI technology that can basically disrupt the world.
mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, no,
mean,
that's a huge point, Pete, and it's really important that China can be whoever China wants to be, and it's between the Chinese people and the Chinese Communist Party. I see China as very transactional at that level, and I don't think we need to have a knockout, drag out physical kinetic war with China for any reason. I don't think we need to have a trade war. I don't think we need to do anything of those things. And I believe that Trump that finally understands that as well. So, but we do not want, um, if we're going to live in a world that's, AI and fake and gay, then it better not be a fake and gay world run by the Chinese Communist Party. I'm not, or Davos in Europe, or hell, I don't want the Russians running anything either. Like, I don't want any of these people. I honestly want look, we're going to get to a point where it's going to be their AIs versus our AIs, and it's all going to be friggin' Philip K. Dick's second variety, like all over again. Um, and that's fine, but we have to understand our place within all of it. I don't know. It's a weird thing. This is a very weird moment in time with everything changing as rapidly as it is. But I really do appreciate you like laying it out the way you have. And I know I brought you to a point where you didn't want to go, but at the end of the day, I think it's really important because being blackpilled doesn't solve anything. It doesn't.
it makes you
You're not even.
ineffective. It makes you
It takes you
ineffective.
off the board. It takes you off the game board. You neutralize yourself, and it's one thing if you don't want to be on the game board. I have no problem with that. I remember when after Trump got elected, Mike Krieger of Liberty Blitzkrieg, formerly, said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm tired, and I just want to raise tomatoes and raise garlic and everything else, and I'm shutting the blog down. And I went, and I publicly, he said that on Twitter, and I said back to him, I said, Mike, thank you for your time and your service. Really appreciate the work you've done. Go enjoy your life. About a
Yeah.
year later, he starts piping up on Twitter again with shit. And I'm like, dude, you took yourself off the game board. You don't get to comment anymore. You don't get to be that guy anymore. Go raise your tomatoes. And he got angry with me. I'm like, you're out of date. You haven't been doing this for a year. You have no idea what's going on. And it's not cool.
Yeah.
Like if you want to take yourself off the game board, that's fine. Please do so. It's your life. Live it how you so choose. Peter Thiel is
I'm gonna
probably agree with you completely. Do you think Klaus Schwab does? Do you think Bill Gates does? Bill Gates wants to kill you. Bill Gates wants to sterilize you. Okay? Like, this is not hard. If I have to choose between these two guys, I'm with you. Indifference over hostility. Every day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Yeah. No, 100%. I will say this. I'll give you the links so you can provide them. Two
Sure.
podcasts I would recommend everyone listen to get an idea. You're not going to agree with everything. You're not going to agree with these people. Okay, they have a
Right.
different outlook on the world, but this is who you should be listening to. The Moment of Zen episode that came out 5 days ago, this is the 25th, I think, came out on the 20th with Balaji, who's from the CTO of Coinbase and yada yada, and also the Little Tech Agenda from the Ben and Mark show.
Okay.
Just their hour and a half, hour and 45-minute podcasts. These are billionaires who are telling you what they want for the future, what they want to see in the world. You can sit there and you can say they're lying. No, They don't want me to be a coomer anymore. They want me to come up out of my basement, and they want to control me and turn me, whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You can just listen to them. See if you see what I'm seeing. I'm not saying that, it's like, I mean, I'd like to live in like Catholic Spain, like the
Sure.
golden age of Catholic Spain. That would be like I'm not going to get that. Okay.
Right.
I'm not going to get that. Okay. So I have to look for what's best, what I think is best for me right
Mhm.
now. I mean, they're putting little old ladies who pray outside of abortion clinics, little old Catholic ladies who pray outside of abortion clinics in jail for 80-year-old women in jail for 3 years.
Right.
Okay. They're hostile to me and mine.
As
I
Dexter
look
White,
at these
yeah.
people. Yeah,
Mhm.
I look at these people, these tech people. I most see that they're indifferent to what I believe, what I want. I think they want to build the kind of tech that they want. And if they don't, it's going to be someone else. And if it's like China or India or so, we are fucked. We are fucked. You think it's bad now? Think about China having the most powerful AI in the world.
That's right. All right. I will give Dexter White the final word here, which is to say, look, folks, we should not be arguing anymore about whether it's okay to shout fire in a library when the library is already mostly burned down. It's That's what we have to realize where we are. So, Pete, I really appreciate your time. And he said he wrote that, I don't know, sometime last year in anticipation of all of this. I really appreciate you coming on today. Really appreciate the frank talk. Went a couple of places that we probably may or may not have gone or should have gone, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. If I wasn't, well, there it is. I don't edit these things, and I don't, and everybody just hears the straight dope. So there it is, and I appreciate it, Peach, and I appreciate you, you know, putting yourself out there, because the thing about it is that when you're the guy in the middle, you're hated by everybody. And if you place yourself between two ideologies, both sides are going to hate you for it. And that's okay. That's the best place to be, because that's when real inquisition happens. That's when real thought and and real, new ideas crop up. So I appreciate you taking that on that role in that part of the space.
I always appreciate you, Tom. Thank you. Thanks for what you do, and thanks for thinking outside the box as well. I think there are more and more people who are starting to embrace that. But I think the quicker we have more and more thinkers starting to embrace that, then can I add just one more thing real quick?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
You might Okay. A bunch of people on the right, on the what they call the more dissident right, started one guy started doing their profile pic, started making your profile pic red and your eyes glowing. It's this dark MAGA thing.
Right.
Started doing that last week. Within 2 days, Mark Andreessen was doing that. Elon Musk had done it, had changed his profile pic to this.
Right.
And the reaction that I got from people on the right was, they're just trying to infiltrate our space. I'm like, no, they're reaching out to us. In my
Exactly.
opinion, they're actually reaching out to us. I know for a fact that Tucker Carlson was listening to like hardcore far right podcasts, or at least his producers were, when he was still on Fox News.
I know. But
Tucker
Tucker Carlson
Carlson,
was aping was getting my talking points, and I was hearing them on Tucker Carlson when he was on Fox News. Laura Ingraham, I could hear.
yeah, I'm not going to take credit for this, but recently Tucker Carlson has brought up the Spanish Civil War like 3 times in speeches. I've been doing readings of the Spanish Civil War on my show for like the last month and a half.
Sure.
I'm just saying that it's really odd that I've seen Candace Owens tweet stuff that is like word for word things I've said on my show.
Pete, our
People
job.
are listening. People are
Yes,
listening to us.
Pete, Our job is to throw pebbles down the mountain and start the avalanche such that they don't even know where the pebbles came from originally. That's the point, my friend. The point is we are all living, breathing, walking standalone complexes. And we can choose, if you push the truth into the zeitgeist, it will reverberate. Hell, I watched a guy the other day, watched a video of a guy who's standing off against Santa Rosa County because he's got big Trump flags on his house, right? And he's being fined by codes enforcement for having signs on. It's not his HOA, the county codes enforcement. And he's like, halfway through it, he's like, and I don't want no damn money from GoFundMe because I don't intend on ever paying the damn fine. I don't care if that's ungovernable of me or not. I'm like, good for you. I don't care. Yeah. I don't need the credit. I don't want the credit. I just want the world to become a better place. It's why we do what we do. It doesn't matter. Does not matter. We're not here to chase. We're not here chasing fame, folks. We're here doing the job because it's the only job we know how to do, because we fucking care, and we're not going to be perfect, and we're not going to always say what you want us to say, or you're going to agree with everything that comes out of our fucking pie holes. That doesn't make us shills for evil du jour. It just makes us people.
I mean, it's, this isn't me going, these people are saying this. This is what other people are telling me. Other people are like, you have to listen to this. It sounds like these people are listening to you. And then we found out for sure that Tucker Carlson that his producers were listening and reading. I mean, it's like I think I said in the beginning, JD Vance follows half of my mutuals.
Right.
I mean, like half of my mutuals are, and these aren't guys who are like Republicans. These are like far right, like pro Franco guys. I mean, it's like, sit back, relax, stop being black-pilled. It makes you ineffective. Try to come up with some solutions on your own and tell other people. Yes, that's right. You could fail. That's what life's all about. Failures and successes. And you know what? The failures are going to outweigh the successes. Any venture capitalist will tell you that.
And every failure, and every scientist will tell you this, every failure leads to 5 successes later on. But it takes 50 failures to get one really lasting, great success. All right, Pete, I'm going to run. That was great. I really appreciate it. You be well. We'll talk again soon. Well, that'll about wrap it up for episode 185 of the Gold, Goats, and Guns podcast. I want to thank Pete Quinones for doing the thing and taking the time, because I think it's important that, we look at things a little differently, that we take the time to consider what it is that we think we know, and then what it is that we actually know, and make sure that our filters and our perceptions are properly aligned with some version of reality. With that said, I'm out. And we'll talk again soon. As always, you can follow my work over at my blog at tomluongo.me or goldgoatsandguns.com. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728. You can follow my partner Dexter White at Dexter K. White. You can follow Pete Quinones at Peter R. Quinones. And as you can follow us over on Patreon and support us on Patreon at patreon.com/goldgoatsandguns, where we do the monthly newsletter and the twice-weekly market reports, where we go over all of what's going on in the world, tie it to what's going on in the markets to try and make sense of, this crazy freaking world. So you guys be well. You take care. We'll talk soon. You keep your stick on the ice.